The night begins softly, wrapped in the kind of quiet that feels endless. The air is cool, and the sky stretches wide and infinite, painted in deep shades of indigo and silver. You can almost hear the hush between the stars, the stillness that makes you forget the world below. A gentle breeze brushes through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, an owl calls out, its sound fading into the dark. This is the kind of night where thoughts slow down and curiosity begins to bloom. You find yourself gazing upward, not just looking at the stars, but into them, wondering what secrets they've been keeping since the beginning of time. For as long as humanity has existed, nights like this have stirred the same questions. Our ancestors once stood under these same skies, tracing patterns among the stars and assigning meaning to their glow. The constellations became stories, tales of gods, heroes, and otherworldly beings who lived beyond the reach of Earth. In the deserts of Mesopotamia, priests and astronomers studied the heavens, believing that each movement of light carried a divine message. Ancient Egyptians aligned their temples to the stars, seeing them as portals to the afterlife. To the Greeks, planets were wandering deities. To the Mayans, they were cosmic keepers of time. Long before telescopes or science, people sensed that the sky above was alive with mystery. As you lie beneath the same canopy, it's easy to understand why. There's a rhythm in the stars, a steady pulse that seems to echo the quiet beating of your own heart. The universe feels both endless and intimate, as though it's breathing with you. Somewhere, between the comfort of gravity and the pull of infinity, the idea begins to settle. What if those lights are not just burning suns, but homes? What if, scattered across that vastness, other beings are looking back, wondering about us the same way we wonder about them? The thought is not frightening, but strangely peaceful, like recognizing an ancient truth you've always known. The night deepens and the mind drifts. Thoughts move like clouds, slow, unhurried, tracing stories across the darkness. You think of how every culture has looked to the heavens for meaning, each seeing something different, yet somehow the same. There's a universality in that gaze, an unspoken understanding that the stars are both a mirror and a mystery. They remind us of how small we are, and yet how infinite we feel when we dream of what lies beyond. A faint shimmer flickers across the horizon, a shooting star perhaps, or something else entirely. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a quiet sense of wonder. The air seems to hum for a moment, as though the night itself has whispered a secret too soft to catch. In that calm silence, a gentle curiosity awakens, a sense that the sky is not as empty as it seems. The thought lingers, warm and steady, as you breathe deeper and let your eyes grow heavy. Tonight's story begins here, in this moment of stillness, between the known and the unknown. A night where imagination and reality blur, where stars become witnesses, and where the universe feels close enough to touch. The calm spreads through you, like waves on a quiet shore, as the world fades into soft, endless dark. Above, the stars continue to watch, patient and ancient, as if waiting for you to finally listen. The stillness of the night deepens, and as your thoughts drift further from the present, the story begins to travel through time. Long before modern cities glowed against the darkness, the night sky was a silent theater of mystery. In the ancient world, people did not see the sky as an empty void but as a living, breathing realm filled with meaning and movement. When strange lights appeared overhead, they were not dismissed. They were recorded, painted, carved, and woven into legend. Each generation passed on its stories of the lights above, stories that might have been humanity's earliest encounters with the unknown. The first whispers of such encounters reach back thousands of years. In the caves of the Sahara and the deserts of Australia, ancient rock carvings show figures descending from the heavens, their forms surrounded by rays of light or circular discs. Archaeologists have long debated these images. Were they depictions of gods, symbolic visions, or something else entirely? In the Sumerian lands of Mesopotamia, the earliest civilization to record the movement of the stars, clay tablets spoke of the Anunnaki, beings said to have come from the sky to shape humanity itself. These weren't stories of distant gods. They were told as history, as encounters that changed the course of human life. Whether myth or memory, they reveal how deeply the sky has always stirred our sense of wonder and fear. In ancient India, the sacred Vedic texts described glowing vimanas, flying chariots that moved across the heavens with sound and fire. In the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel spoke of a wheel within a wheel descending from the sky, surrounded by brightness and strange creatures. The words carry a haunting familiarity: circular craft, radiant lights, beings not entirely human. To the people of those times, these were divine visitations, messengers of higher realms. But across ages, the descriptions echo with uncanny similarity to what modern witnesses would one day call UFOs. The story continues into the medieval skies of Europe, where chroniclers began documenting strange celestial events with quiet awe. One of the most famous occurred in Nuremberg, Germany, in 1561. As dawn broke over the city, hundreds of townspeople claimed to see shapes in the sky, cylinders, spheres, and crosses engaged in what appeared to be a battle. Artists captured the event in woodcuts, the sky filled with fiery orbs and blackened smoke, as if a war had erupted above the clouds. To them, it was a sign from God, a celestial omen. But centuries later, historians and researchers would look back and wonder if these accounts were glimpses of something else, machines or phenomena beyond their understanding. Other records from the 1600s and 1700s describe similar sky spectacles witnessed across Europe and Asia. In Japan, scrolls tell of luminous ships hovering over fishing villages. In the Americas, indigenous tribes pass down stories of star people who came from the heavens to teach and to guide. The patterns repeat across continents, separated by oceans but united in vision. Different languages, same symbols, lights in the sky, beings from above, messages from beyond. It's as if humanity has been watching the same play for millennia, without ever understanding its script. As you drift deeper into the story, you can imagine these moments unfolding, the quiet terror and awe of ancient witnesses, their faces lit by mysterious light. To them, the unknown was sacred. Each event became a story told around fires and temples, passed through generations until the meaning blurred between divine and real. The line between the gods and the visitors, between faith and fact, has always been delicate. And perhaps that is what makes these early sightings so haunting. They feel less like myths and more like memories. The night remains calm, the stars above unchanged, yet their history grows heavier with meaning. The same constellations that guided shepherds and sailors may have also guided something else, something watching, studying, perhaps waiting. The ancient world saw the sky as a living text, one written by unseen hands. Whether those hands belonged to deities, travelers, or the imagination of humankind is a question that lingers through time. As the wind stirs softly around you, the story pauses in the darkness between centuries. Humanity has always looked up and wondered, and maybe, somewhere out there, something has been looking back. The first lights in the sky were not only the beginning of astronomy, but the first spark of an endless mystery, one that still follows us into the modern night. The world had changed by the middle of the 20th century. Cities glowed through the night, airplanes traced bright lines across the sky, and technology was transforming the way humans lived and dreamed. Yet beneath the hum of engines and electricity, one thing remained unchanged. People still looked up, searching for meaning in the vastness above. The difference now was that when strange lights appeared, they could be measured, photographed, and recorded. The age of myth had become the age of evidence, and with it began what many call the modern era of UFO encounters. It all started in the summer of 1947 over the clear blue skies of Washington state. A pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying his small aircraft near Mount Rainier when he saw something that would change history. 9 silvery objects moved in formation, darting through the sky at speeds beyond anything known at the time. Arnold described them as moving like saucers skipping over water, and with that phrase, the world gained a new term, flying saucer. Newspapers spread the story within hours, and soon, reports began to pour in from across America. People from every corner of the country seeing discs, lights, and strange shapes gliding silently overhead. Whether mass hysteria or mass revelation, something had awakened in the human imagination. Just a few weeks later, another story emerged from the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. A local rancher found fragments scattered across his land, metallic, lightweight, and unlike anything he had ever seen. The U.S. Army initially announced they had recovered a flying disc, but within a day, the statement was withdrawn. The debris, officials said, was nothing more than a weather balloon. Still, the seed of doubt had been planted. In coffee shops, on radio broadcasts, and around dinner tables, people whispered, if it was just a balloon, why the secrecy? Why the sudden change in story? Decades later, declassified documents and testimonies would rekindle the mystery, making Roswell a symbol of government concealment and the unknown. As sightings increased, the U.S. military began to take interest. Between 1952 and 1969, Project Blue Book, an official Air Force program, collected and analyzed over 12,000 reports of unidentified flying objects. While most were dismissed as weather phenomena, aircraft, or optical illusions, a small percentage remained unexplained. Investigators and scientists faced an uncomfortable question. Could something non-human be operating within Earth's skies? Public curiosity swelled. Magazines published glowing photos of saucers. Movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still turned extraterrestrial visitors into cultural icons. The mysterious had become mainstream, and with every new sighting, the line between science and speculation blurred further. Psychologists and sociologists began studying the witnesses themselves, fascinated by how ordinary people described extraordinary events. Many reported feelings of paralysis, humming sounds, or lost time. Some spoke with trembling voices of lights that seemed intelligent, almost curious, as if observing them in return. For some, the experiences left deep emotional scars. For others, a strange serenity, as though they had glimpsed something benevolent. The human mind, they realized, was as much a part of the mystery as the skies themselves. Could these experiences be products of stress, suggestion, or dreamlike hallucination, or did they reveal genuine contact with an unknown intelligence? Beyond the emotional stories and headlines, the 1950s and 60s also marked a shift in how humanity thought about space. The Cold War pushed nations to look upward, not just with fear, but ambition. Rockets pierced the atmosphere, satellites orbited the Earth, and suddenly, the idea of beings from other worlds didn't seem impossible. If humans could leave their planet, perhaps others could too. Every astronaut gazing down at the blue curve of Earth seemed to carry an unspoken question. Are we alone in this expanse? The era also birthed organized movements of believers and researchers, people who dedicated their lives to documenting, studying, and understanding UFO phenomena. Civilian groups like NICAP, National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, gathered evidence and pressured for government transparency. Some scientists began to speak cautiously about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, while others dismissed it as fantasy. Yet behind closed doors, military officials and intelligence agencies quietly kept watching the skies. Something or someone was appearing in radar logs, leaving no clear explanation. As the world entered the space age, the stories of flying saucers evolved from local curiosity to global mystery. Reports came from pilots, radar operators, and entire towns, each account adding another thread to an expanding tapestry of the unknown. The calm of the night sky had become more complicated. Humanity was no longer just gazing upward in wonder, it was searching for proof. And though the answers remained elusive, the collective sense of awe deepened. Now, as the quiet hum of the night surrounds you, imagine those first modern witnesses, People standing under the same stars, their hearts quickening as strange lights moved across the heavens. They didn't yet have the language of UAPs or extraterrestrial craft. They had only their eyes, their memories, and their questions. The modern era of encounters had begun, and with it, humanity's most enduring mystery was reborn, one that continues to shimmer, silent and eternal, in the dark sky above. The night grows quieter still, and the story begins to move closer, to the moments when mystery crossed from the sky into human lives. The lights that once shimmered far above were no longer distant. They were near. They landed in fields, hovered over highways, appeared outside bedroom windows. These were not tales of distant sightings anymore. They were encounters, personal and often haunting, told by people who never wanted to believe such things were possible. As the modern UFO era deepened, so too did the stories of contact, where the unknown was not just seen but felt. It was the autumn of 1961 when Betty and Barney Hill, an ordinary couple from New Hampshire, set out on a drive home from a vacation in Canada. The road was empty and dark, the hum of the car their only company. Then they noticed it, a light moving strangely in the sky, pacing their vehicle, changing direction, coming closer. At first, they thought it might be a plane, but soon the light descended, glowing brighter, revealing a large, silent craft with rows of windows. Fear replaced curiosity. They heard a series of buzzing sounds, felt a sudden numbness, and then, nothing. Hours later, they found themselves miles down the road with no memory of how they got there. In the weeks that followed, both began to suffer from strange dreams and anxiety. Under hypnosis, their stories emerged in fragments. Figures with large eyes, a metallic room, gentle voices communicating without sound. They described examinations, questions, and an eerie calm, as if the beings were studying them with detached curiosity. The details were too vivid, too aligned to dismiss. The Hill case became the first widely publicized alien abduction, opening a new and unsettling chapter in human experience. Scientists and psychologists debated its meaning. Was it trauma, shared hallucination, or something real? For Betty and Barney, it was neither myth nor metaphor. It was memory. The years that followed brought countless similar accounts. In 1975, in the pine forests of Arizona, logger Travis Walton vanished after approaching a glowing craft witnessed by his co-workers. He reappeared 5 days later, disoriented and terrified, with no memory of where he had been. His story echoed the same sensations described by others: a blinding light, a humming sound, paralysis, a metallic room. Investigators found the crew's accounts consistent, even under polygraph tests. To this day, the Travis Walton incident remains one of the most studied abduction cases, straddling the line between science and something inexplicable. Many who claimed such experiences reported similar details: bright lights, missing time, sudden fatigue, strange marks on the skin. Psychologists tried to interpret these accounts through the lens of sleep paralysis, temporal lobe activity, and suggestibility. Some experiences fit those explanations neatly, but others, those with physical evidence, multiple witnesses, and radar confirmation, remained unsolved. There were also quiet consistencies that spanned cultures and continents: beings with large heads and dark eyes, round craft emitting a low hum, encounters that occurred late at night in isolated areas. For something born of imagination, it all seemed eerily structured. But beneath the strange descriptions and scientific theories lay something deeply human. Many witnesses described not terror, but an overwhelming sense of calm, as though the beings, whatever they were, did not mean harm. Some said they felt as if they were part of an experiment, others as if they had been chosen for a message they could not yet understand. Hypnotherapists, researchers, and spiritual thinkers began to see abduction narratives as both cosmic and psychological. Were these events an external phenomenon, or symbolic experiences drawn from the deepest parts of the human mind? The answer remained out of reach, shimmering just beyond certainty. As the 1980s and 1990s unfolded, the stories multiplied. From the quiet suburbs of England to the outback of Australia, from children in Zimbabwe describing glowing beings near their schoolyard to farmers in Brazil witnessing lights descending into their fields, each account carried the same undertone of awe and fear. Some governments quietly documented these reports, while others dismissed them publicly. Yet, behind the scenes, intelligence agencies and scientists began to notice patterns that defied coincidence. The phenomenon, whatever it was, seemed to adapt, appearing differently to different people, but always leaving behind that same quiet unease, the feeling of being observed from just beyond the veil. Now, as you lie under the still sky, imagine that moment of contact. The air charged with static, the stars hidden behind an unnatural glow. The sound is not loud but humming, low and rhythmic, as if the night itself has come alive. The mind resists what it sees, trying to explain, to rationalize, but the senses know. In that instant, the mystery is no longer distant or abstract. It is close, breathing where. And when it's gone, when the silence returns, nothing feels quite the same again. The encounters of the night visitors are stories of the unknown meeting the familiar, of fragile human lives brushing against something vast and incomprehensible. Whether they are glimpses of truth, projections of the subconscious, or moments of contact with another form of life, they all share a quiet power. They change the way we see the night sky. The stars above no longer feel like distant fires, but doorways, points of connection between worlds. And as the story continues, the question grows heavier, softer, and closer to the heart. If they are here, what have they come to teach us? The night deepens, and with it comes the quiet weight of secrecy. For every witness who looked to the skies in wonder, there were officials who looked at the same events with caution and silence. As the stories of strange lights and unexplainable encounters multiplied, governments around the world began to take notice. But rather than openness, what followed was an era of denial, misdirection, and whispered investigations hidden behind locked doors. The mystery that once belonged to farmers, pilots, and ordinary citizens became a matter of national security. And when governments take interest in the unknown, mystery becomes something far more complex. In the years after the Roswell incident, the U.S. government launched a series of official investigations into unidentified flying objects. Project Sign began in 1948, followed by Project Grudge, and eventually Project Blue Book in the 1950s. Publicly, these programs were described as scientific efforts to separate fantasy from fact. But behind their calm, bureaucratic language was a growing concern. Some sightings defied all known explanations. Military pilots reported objects moving at impossible speeds, performing maneuvers that no human technology could match. Radar operators confirmed the same targets visually and electronically, proof that these were not illusions. Yet when reports reached the public, they were stripped of detail, dismissed as weather balloons or optical mirages. Many of the investigators within these programs, however, came away with lingering unease. Captain Edward Ruppelt, the first head of Project Blue Book, admitted that some cases remained unexplained even to experts. Documents declassified decades later revealed that officials privately disagreed with their own public conclusions. Some believed the objects represented advanced foreign technology. Others quietly entertained the possibility of something non-human. In official statements, the government reassured the public that no threat existed. But in the silence of their offices, they asked different questions, ones too unsettling to share openly. By the 1960s, the American public had grown skeptical. Why, they wondered, would the government invest years and millions of dollars investigating something they claimed didn't exist? When the Condon Report of 1969 concluded that further research into UFOs was unnecessary, Project Blue Book was shut down. The message was clear. The subject was closed. Yet the sightings did not stop. Pilots, police officers, and civilians continued to report strange lights, and those reports found their way not into newspapers, but into classified files. The age of public study was over. The age of quiet secrecy had begun. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, other nations followed similar patterns. The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense ran its own UFO desk for decades, quietly cataloging reports from RAF pilots and civilians. France established GAIPAN, a formal research agency within its space center, to investigate aerial phenomena with scientific rigor. Even the Soviet Union gathered extensive files during the Cold War, fearing that UFOs might represent secret American aircraft or something beyond human origin. In each case, the tension between curiosity and control shaped how much truth was ever allowed to surface. By the 1980s and 90s, whispers of hidden programs began to surface in the public consciousness. Leaked documents, anonymous insiders, and retired intelligence officers spoke of underground facilities, secret crash retrievals, and reverse-engineered technology. The term Area 51 became a symbol of this quiet, unsettling possibility, a place where the world's most guarded secrets might be stored. Government spokespeople denied everything, yet satellite photos revealed massive installations in the Nevada desert. When former workers began to speak about strange craft tested under the cover of night, the line between rumor and revelation blurred even further. Then came the modern disclosures. In 2017, a series of official U.S. Navy videos, known as the Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast footage, were leaked to the press. The clips showed unidentified objects moving in ways that defied the known laws of physics, accelerating instantly, rotating without propulsion, and vanishing from radar. The U.S. Department of Defense later confirmed the video's authenticity, marking the first time in history that a government acknowledged encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena. Congressional hearings followed, along with the establishment of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, an official body tasked with investigating these mysteries. What had once been whispered in classified halls was now discussed under the lights of public inquiry. And yet, even in this new age of partial transparency, the secrecy remains. Reports are redacted, footage is withheld, and officials speak in careful language that both reveals and conceals. Former intelligence officers claim the government knows far more than it admits. Pilots speak of stigma, of being told to stay silent. Researchers uncover patterns of disinformation designed to muddy the waters, truth hidden beneath layers of deliberate confusion. The mystery seems to protect itself, guarded by bureaucracy and fear. As you listen in the stillness of this night, imagine the quiet rooms where these secrets rest, metal file cabinets filled with decades of reports, grainy photographs, and radar logs. Imagine the sleepless scientists and officers who, under the dim glow of fluorescent lights, stare at data that should not exist. They are bound by silence, but within that silence, wonder still flickers. Perhaps they, too, have looked out the window during those long hours, seeing the same sky you see now, asking the same question whispered across generations. What is out there? Government secrecy is not just about hiding evidence. It is about controlling the narrative of fear and understanding. Whether the unknown in our skies represents advanced technology, interdimensional travelers, or something beyond comprehension, it touches something deeply human. The need to know, and the fear of what knowing might mean. For now, the truth remains suspended between light and shadow, between file drawers and forgotten airfields. But the silence cannot last forever. The skies do not lie, and every night, the same stars shine over both the watchers and the watched. The story now turns inward, away from military secrecy and official reports, and into the realm of ideas, imagination, and theory. After decades of sightings and stories, one truth has become clear. The mystery is no longer just about what flies above us. It's also about what lives within us. Each explanation, each theory, reflects not only the world we see, but how we see it. The mind, like the sky, is vast, And somewhere between science and belief lies the answer humanity keeps searching for. As the 20th century gave way to the 21st, scientists, psychologists, and philosophers began to study the phenomenon from multiple angles. Some saw it as a physical mystery to be solved with data, while others saw it as a symbolic mirror of human consciousness. Theories multiplied like stars in the sky, each one shining with a different kind of truth. The most widely accepted idea remains the extraterrestrial hypothesis, the belief that UFOs are physical craft operated by beings from other planets. Supporters point to the sheer scale of the universe, billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, and countless worlds potentially capable of supporting life. To them, it seems arrogant to assume Earth is the only cradle of intelligence. They argue that what we see in the sky may not be fantasy at all, but visitation, scientifically plausible, if not yet fully understood. Even some physicists quietly entertain the thought, noting that advanced civilizations, thousands or millions of years ahead of us, could have mastered technologies beyond our imagination, warp drives, gravity manipulation, or quantum travel. Under this view, UFOs are not ghosts or dreams. They are the natural consequence of a populated universe. But not all are convinced that the answer lies among the stars. Another school of thought, known as the interdimensional hypothesis, suggests that the visitors are not from distant planets, but from neighboring realities, alternate dimensions that coexist with our own. The idea, once purely metaphysical, gained credibility as quantum physics began revealing strange truths about the fabric of space and time. If reality is layered, if particles can exist in multiple states at once, perhaps consciousness itself is the bridge between worlds. Under this lens, UFOs and their occupants might be travelers between dimensions, sometimes visible, sometimes not, their appearances more like overlapping frequencies than physical arrivals. To those who hold this view, what we call the paranormal and the extraterrestrial may be one and the same phenomenon, interpreted through the limits of human perception. Then there are the psychological and symbolic theories, most famously explored by Carl Jung in his book Flying Saucers, a modern myth of things seen in the skies. Jung proposed that UFOs are not merely objects, but symbols, manifestations of the collective unconscious. In times of social anxiety or rapid change, the human psyche projects archetypes outward into reality. The circular form of the flying saucer, Jung argued, represented wholeness, the mandala, the eternal symbol of unity. People saw them not because they were physically there, but because they needed them to be there, as a reflection of their deep longing for meaning in a chaotic world. To Jung, UFOs were not lies or delusions, but messages from the human soul written across the sky. Modern neuroscience has expanded upon these psychological explanations. Researchers studying sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, and memory distortion have shown how the brain can create experiences that feel vividly real. A person awakening in the middle of the night, paralyzed and terrified, might see figures in the room, beings of light, shadows, or faces leaning over them. To the frightened witness, the event feels physical, not imagined. Scientists suggest that many alleged abductions may be such experiences, the brain trapped between dream and wakefulness, spinning terror into vision. But even here, questions remain. Why do people across cultures, separated by oceans, report the same imagery, the same beings, the same sounds, the same missing time? Coincidence, or a shared human channel tuned to something beyond biology? Beyond psychology and physics lies the sociocultural theory, the idea that UFOs evolve with our technology and fears. In the 1890s, people reported airships that resembled dirigibles. In the 1940s and 50s, as jet aircraft became familiar, the sightings turned to metallic discs. In the 1980s, triangular black craft appeared in the skies, reflecting the era's fascination with stealth technology. The phenomenon seems to adapt, mirroring whatever form fits the age. Some scholars see this as proof that UFOs are products of imagination shaped by culture. Others argue it's evidence that they, whoever they are, intentionally appear in ways we can understand, adjusting their image to match our expectations, like teachers tailoring lessons for children. Then there are the spiritual and consciousness-based theories, those that dissolve the line between the inner and outer universe. Mystics and experiencers describe encounters not as invasions, but as awakenings, a kind of communication that transcends speech. They speak of beings made of light, of telepathic understanding, of lessons about ecology, peace, and unity. To them, the visitors are not conquerors but caretakers, nudging humanity toward awareness of a larger cosmic order. In this perspective, the UFO mystery is not about technology at all. It's about evolution, the gradual awakening of consciousness to its place in a living universe. Science listens cautiously, while spirituality listens softly. Each discipline touches the mystery but cannot grasp it fully. Perhaps that is the nature of truth. It changes shape depending on how you approach it. Maybe the phenomenon is physical and psychological, internal and external, real and symbolic all at once. As the night stretches on, the line between stars and thoughts begins to blur. You can feel it, the vastness both above and within you. Every theory, every attempt to explain, reflects the same impulse, to understand what we are seeing and, by extension, who we are. Maybe the visitors are not strangers at all, but mirrors, reflections of our longing to connect, to evolve, to step beyond the boundaries of our small blue world. The hum of the night returns, steady and patient. You realize that in trying to explain the unknown, humanity has built a constellation of ideas, each one a point of light, each one leading somewhere different. And perhaps, just as stars form patterns when seen from afar, these theories too may one day align, revealing a greater truth hidden among them. Until then, the mystery remains, a quiet companion drifting through the dark, reminding us that knowledge is only another form of wonder. As the theories evolve and the debates deepen, something remarkable happens. The mystery of UFOs begins to weave itself into the fabric of our culture. It's no longer confined to classified files or late-night campfire stories. It becomes part of who we are, shaping art, entertainment, belief, and even our collective imagination. The unknown moves from the sky into our screens, our dreams, and our stories. What began as isolated sightings in quiet rural skies grows into a global conversation, a mirror reflecting both our fear of the unfamiliar and our endless fascination with it. By the late 20th century, UFOs had transformed from fringe folklore into mainstream myth. Television shows like The X-Files captured the tension of the era. Half skepticism, half hope. Its haunting tagline, "The truth is out there," echoed something deep in the public psyche. People wanted to believe, not necessarily because of evidence, but because belief itself offered comfort, a sense that the universe was filled with meaning and connection. Movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind presented extraterrestrials not as invaders, but as beings of light and curiosity. Others, like Independence Day and Alien, took the opposite route, turning the unknown into a source of fear and awe. Across genres, from horror to wonder, the extraterrestrial became a reflection of humanity's greatest hopes and deepest anxieties. These stories did more than entertain. They shaped perception. Psychologists studying media influence found that fictional depictions often set the template for how people interpret real experiences. When witnesses described seeing gray aliens, for example, their imagery closely matched beings popularized by 1980s films and books. Yet this doesn't necessarily mean the experiences were imaginary. It might also mean that pop culture and real encounters exist in a feedback loop, each inspiring the other, each drawing from the same well of mystery that sits deep in the human subconscious. Cultural impact went beyond film and television. Music, literature, and visual art began to explore extraterrestrial themes as metaphors for isolation, connection, and transcendence. David Bowie's space oddity captured the loneliness of reaching too far. John Lennon, who once claimed to have seen a UFO himself, wrote of instant karma and cosmic consciousness. Writers like Arthur C. Clarke and Philip K. Dick blurred the line between technology and mysticism, suggesting that alien intelligence might not be something we meet, but something we become. Even modern spiritual movements, such as the starseed philosophy, draw from the UFO mythos, seeing humans as souls from other star systems, reincarnated on Earth to help awaken collective consciousness. The cultural fascination with the unknown also influenced how governments and scientists approached the subject. Public demand for transparency led to the release of previously classified documents, fueling documentaries and books that blurred the border between fact and speculation. Media coverage became a double-edged sword. While it brought awareness to real mysteries, it also amplified hoaxes and exaggerations. Each televised sighting, each viral video, reminded viewers that the line between truth and imagination was thinner than ever. Yet beneath the sensationalism, something more profound was unfolding. The UFO phenomenon began to evolve from a story about them into a reflection on us. Artists, philosophers, and even theologians started asking new questions. What would it mean for our sense of self if we're not alone? How would religion adapt? How would humanity change if contact were proven? Some churches quietly began preparing answers, suggesting that alien life would not contradict divine creation but expand it. Others warned that such revelations could shatter traditional belief systems. At the same time, the mystery inspired a sense of unity. For the first time, humanity had a shared question that transcended borders, politics, and language. Whether in Tokyo or Cairo, London or Lahore, people could look up at the same night sky and wonder the same thing. In an age divided by information and ideology, the possibility of other worlds offered a subtle kind of peace, an invitation to imagine something larger than ourselves. Artists painted luminous beings stepping out of craft bathed in soft light, their faces calm, their eyes deep with understanding. Poets wrote of the cosmos as a mirror of the human soul. Even scientists, often portrayed as skeptics, began to speak of awe rather than dismissal. Carl Sagan, one of the most respected voices of the 20th century, said it best: "The universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition." Yet he also reminded us that to explore, to question, to search for others, is not madness. It's the essence of being human. The UFO mystery, in this way, became an art form, a story we tell to understand our longing for meaning, for connection, for home beyond home. Whether real or symbolic, it calls us to look upward, to feel that quiet hum between the stars, to sense that something, perhaps someone, is waiting. As the lights of the city dim and the night deepens once again, you can almost feel that cultural echo, a resonance that spans decades of stories, songs, and whispered hopes. The extraterrestrial has become an intimate part of the human imagination. And perhaps that's the most mysterious thing of all, that in seeking the unknown, we have found new ways to understand ourselves. The calm of the night returns, vast and patient. You feel it settle around you like a blanket, this gentle truth that mystery, whether cosmic or human, is what keeps the world alive. The stars continue to glow, storytellers in their own right, reflecting the countless tales we've spun beneath them. And as your breathing slows, you realize the story of the visitors is not only about the sky above, but about the dreamer within. The years move forward, and what was once dismissed as fantasy begins to re-enter the realm of legitimate inquiry. Modern investigations into UFOs, or as they are now more carefully called, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, have taken on a tone far more measured and far more serious than at any time before. The language has changed, the technology has advanced, and the silence that once surrounded the mystery has begun to thin. What was once whispered about in secret now finds its way into official hearings, scientific conferences, and government reports. The question is no longer whether the phenomenon exists, it's what exactly it represents. In 2017, the world was quietly shaken when the New York Times published an article revealing the existence of a secret Pentagon program known as ADIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Funded with millions of dollars, ADIP was tasked with studying encounters between military personnel and unidentified craft that defied explanation. Alongside the report came declassified footage, 3 clips recorded by U.S. Navy fighter pilots, known now as FLIR-1, Gimbal, and Go Fast. The objects in those videos moved with physics-defying agility. No visible propulsion, no wings, no exhaust, yet capable of sudden acceleration and silent motion. For the first time, the U.S. Department of Defense publicly acknowledged that these encounters were real and that the objects seen remained unexplained. This moment marked a turning point. For decades, UFO believers had been dismissed as dreamers, but now the conversation had entered the halls of power. In the following years, more officials and former intelligence officers began to speak openly. Luis Elizondo, who once led ADIP, described the phenomena as something beyond human comprehension and suggested that whatever it is, it operates with intelligence and intent. The U.S. Navy revised its reporting guidelines for pilots, instructing them to log any UAP encounters without fear of ridicule. Soon, NASA announced its own investigation team, and congressional hearings on UAPs took place for the first time in modern history. The topic, once taboo, had become a legitimate subject of study. Scientists, too, began to engage the mystery with renewed curiosity. Physicists and astronomers proposed that the government data should be released for peer review, arguing that open science could shed light on what military technology might obscure. The Galileo Project, led by Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, was one such effort, a scientific initiative to search for evidence of extraterrestrial technology using telescopes, radar systems, and satellites. Loeb suggested that interstellar objects like Oumuamua, a mysterious cigar-shaped body that entered our solar system in 2017, might even be artificial probes. His theories sparked both controversy and excitement, reviving the debate about how far science should go in entertaining the possibility of non-human intelligence. At the same time, global cooperation began to emerge. Other nations, Japan, France, and even Russia, released portions of their own aerial anomaly data. Civilian researchers and former military officials formed organizations like UAPX and the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, SU, aiming to collect empirical evidence. The tone was changing from speculation to analysis, from curiosity to cautious engagement. This was not about belief anymore. It was about data. Yet even as modern investigations progress, the enigma only deepens. The most credible sightings continue to display characteristics that seem beyond the reach of known physics: abrupt acceleration without inertia, silent hovering against high winds, seamless transitions between air and water. Some analysts suggest these could be advanced technologies developed in secret by human nations, hidden behind layers of classification. Others point to the scale and consistency of sightings across decades and continents, arguing that no single country could sustain such secrecy for so long. The phenomenon seems both everywhere and nowhere, visible yet intangible. Parallel to government efforts, private technology has given ordinary people new power to observe the skies. High-resolution cameras, satellite trackers, and smartphone networks have turned the world into one vast sensor grid. Thousands of videos circulate online, some easily explained, others hauntingly convincing. While hoaxes abound, a few pieces of footage defy conventional analysis. Artificial intelligence is now being used to filter and verify such content, comparing patterns of movement, heat signatures, and radar data. The result is a paradox. The more we observe, the less certain we become. Despite this uncertainty, something fundamental has shifted in the collective consciousness. The UFO question is no longer fringe. It's a shared puzzle of science, defense, and philosophy. Governments speak with careful honesty now, admitting that there are things in the sky they cannot explain. Scientists, once dismissive, now cautiously acknowledge that humility is a form of wisdom. And ordinary people, farmers, pilots, students, and storytellers, still look up each night, feeling that ancient pull of wonder that has guided humanity since the first firelit nights beneath the stars. There is a kind of poetry in this shift. After centuries of silence, the search for truth has become an act of global cooperation. For the first time, the mystery that once divided skeptics and believers is drawing them closer together. The tone has softened, just like the night itself, a quiet acknowledgement that not knowing is not failure, but invitation. So as you lie back and listen, imagine that slow turning of the Earth beneath the stars. Somewhere above, satellites glide through orbit, cameras scanning the sky for traces of the unknown. Somewhere in a quiet laboratory, scientists debate what those traces might mean. And somewhere, perhaps far beyond the solar wind, or perhaps just beyond the veil of our own perception, something may be watching, waiting, or simply drifting, curious about us in return. The night remains calm, the stars steady, and beneath that infinite canopy, the search continues, not with fear, but with patience, humility, and the timeless human hope that one day we might finally understand who, or what, shares this universe with us. The mystery now lingers in a quieter, deeper place, no longer confined to radar readings or government reports, but resting in the human heart. After all the theories, investigations, and decades of searching, one truth endures. What we seek among the stars may be as much about understanding ourselves as it is about finding others. The idea of extraterrestrial life has shifted from being a source of fear to one of reflection, a soft mirror held up to humanity's own evolution. The conversation has matured. What once sparked panic or denial now inspires calm curiosity, a collective readiness to accept that the universe might be far more intricate, alive, and interconnected than we ever imagined. Scientists and philosophers alike have begun to reframe the question. Rather than asking, "Are we alone?" they now ask, "What does it mean if we're not?" The difference seems small, but it changes everything. If life exists beyond Earth, it forces us to confront profound moral and spiritual questions. How would contact reshape our understanding of creation, purpose, and destiny? Would humanity unite in recognition of a shared origin, or fracture under the weight of fear and wonder? In this gentle uncertainty, the story becomes not one of invasion or proof, but of perspective. Psychologists studying the human response to the unknown note how the UFO mystery reflects our inner landscape. When people describe encounters, bright lights in the sky, missing time, voices in dreams, they often reveal something more than an external event. These experiences symbolize connection, transformation, or awakening. The abductee's narrative often mirrors the structure of ancient initiation myths. The person is taken, transformed, and returned with new awareness. Whether literal or psychological, such stories point toward a universal human longing to know what lies beyond the limits of perception. The phenomenon, in its many forms, becomes a kind of cosmic dream shared across generations. Modern spiritual thinkers have woven this mystery into new interpretations of consciousness. They speak of the universe as a living system, one mind expressed through countless forms. In this view, the beings we seek might not be separate from us at all, but expressions of the same vast intelligence wearing different faces. The late astronomer Carl Sagan once said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." That idea, once poetic, now feels almost prophetic. When we look to the stars and wonder who's out there, perhaps it is the universe looking back, recognizing its own reflection in our eyes. Across the world, subtle signs of this awareness are emerging. Schools include astrobiology in their curricula. Artists blend space imagery with themes of unity and compassion. Meditation groups use the stars as focal points for connection, describing moments of stillness where the boundaries between inner and outer worlds dissolve. Even in science, a quiet humility has taken root. Researchers once driven by certainty now speak of mystery with reverence, acknowledging that discovery is not always about answers. It's about learning to live with the vastness of not knowing. And yet, beneath this growing maturity, the childlike wonder remains. People still gather in fields and deserts, pointing telescopes toward the night sky. Some seek proof, others simply seek peace in the endlessness. There's a comfort in knowing that not every question must be solved, that some mysteries are meant to accompany us, not to be conquered. Like lullabies sung beneath an infinite dome, the UFO story continues not as a declaration, but as a gentle question that rocks humanity to sleep. What if we're part of something far greater than we can see? The night air cools. You can almost hear the pulse of the earth beneath you, steady and calm. The stars above seem older now, but also kinder, as though they've been waiting for humanity to grow quiet enough to listen. Maybe the real contact has already happened, not through machines or signals, but through awareness. The silent recognition that we are part of a cosmic family, still learning how to understand one another. In this stillness, the mystery no longer feels distant. It feels intimate, woven into the rhythm of your breathing, the slow drift of thought before sleep. Perhaps that's where the truth has been all along, not in the sky, but in the space between knowing and dreaming. And as your mind begins to fade into that soft place between wakefulness and rest, the universe feels less like an expanse to explore and more like a story you are already part of, a lullaby written in starlight, sung by the cosmos itself. Above, the stars continue their endless dance. Below, the earth turns quietly through the dark. And somewhere, in that vast space between, the question remains, gentle, eternal, and beautifully unfinished. The night grows deeper now, folding softly around you like a velvet curtain. The stars above shimmer faintly, as if pulsing to the slow rhythm of your breath. Everything feels still, time, thought, even sound. In this silence, the story settles into its final movement, not as an ending, but as a return. What began as a tale of distant visitors and mysterious lights has become something else entirely, a meditation on wonder, connection, and the endless curiosity that makes us human. The question of what's out there begins to dissolve, leaving behind a quieter truth that what we truly seek has always been within. You can almost imagine the world from above now, the dark curve of the earth illuminated by moonlight, clouds drifting lazily across oceans that shimmer like liquid glass. From that vantage, humanity looks unified, one fragile blue sphere suspended in the infinite. No borders, no divisions, just a living world surrounded by stars. Perhaps that's what every UFO sighting, every whispered story, has really been about. A reminder that we are not isolated beings trapped in chaos, but participants in a vast, shared mystery. Every look toward the heavens becomes a moment of belonging. As your thoughts drift, you remember the people who came before, those who studied the skies long before telescopes existed. The ancient stargazers of Babylon, the dreamers of Egypt, the philosophers of Greece, the astronomers of the Islamic Golden Age, all looking upward, asking the same unanswerable questions. Each generation added its own verse to the same cosmic song. And now, in this age of satellites and quantum physics, that song continues. Humanity's curiosity has only deepened. Even our most advanced instruments, radio arrays scanning for signals, telescopes peering beyond galaxies, are really just extensions of that same instinct. To connect, to listen, to know that we are not alone. Yet, maybe the answer has been with us all along, hidden not in signals or sightings, but in the quiet recognition of how everything in the universe is intertwined. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that lived and died billions of years ago. The light that touches your eyes tonight began its journey long before the first human ever looked upward. You are, in a very literal sense, made of the cosmos. The same dust that drifts between galaxies lives within you. When you breathe, the universe breathes with you. And so, the mystery of extraterrestrial life becomes, in a way, a reflection of the mystery of being alive at all. Perhaps that's why these stories endure. Whether or not the visitors have truly come, they remind us of something essential, that we are still explorers. The unknown keeps us awake in the gentlest way, inviting us to dream bigger than the confines of our small lives. Each unsolved question, each strange light on the horizon, calls us to expand our imagination and empathy. If intelligent life exists elsewhere, then our existence gains new meaning. If it does not, then we are the rarest thing in creation, and our responsibility to one another becomes even greater. Either way, the story is not one of fear, but of awe. The calm deepens. The edges of thought blur. You begin to feel the vastness of space as something tender, almost familiar. The night doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels full. Full of unseen energy, of histories older than time, of whispers that travel through the void. You are surrounded by a living silence that hums softly with potential. Every star becomes a heartbeat, every breeze a memory of distant worlds. The universe is not separate from you. It is within you, resting, breathing, dreaming. In that awareness, peace arrives. The tension between belief and skepticism fades away. There is no longer a need to prove or deny, to argue or define. The mystery simply is a companion, not a riddle. You realize that perhaps the greatest gift of the unknown is not the promise of answers, but the comfort of wonder itself. The sky, vast and unending, becomes a mirror reflecting the quiet depth of your own mind. And as you gaze into it, your thoughts grow lighter, your heartbeat slower, your awareness softer. Far beyond the clouds, the earth turns silently through the cosmic sea. Somewhere, light years away, another world may be turning too, its inhabitants perhaps looking up at their own night sky, wondering if they are alone. Maybe they too feel the same longing, the same peace, the same sense of connection that you do now. If so, then perhaps the bridge between worlds has already been built, not with machines or signals, but with shared wonder. You close your eyes. The boundaries between self and universe begin to fade. The stars outside and the spark within merge into one endless glow. The hum of existence softens into silence. Whatever truth lies beyond, whether it is alien, divine, or simply unknown, it feels kind, patient, and infinite. The story drifts into stillness. The night holds you gently, and the mystery no longer feels like something to chase, but something to rest within. You are safe. You are small, yet infinite. And as the final echoes of thought dissolve into sleep, the universe watches quietly, ancient, beautiful, and endlessly awake.